This is the best local sports show in Jacksonville. Action Sports Jax Prime Time. Brought to you by Larry's Giant Subs.
Hey, it's defense that wins championships, right? Right. Well, Jaguars fans are certainly hoping so after week 1 of training camp, where the defense has led the way. Now, is that because the D is playing really well? Or, well, is it the other option? Hello, welcome to Action Sports Jax Prime Time. Nothing like football practice in July for a reason to slam that panic button. But seriously, the Jaguars have not even put the pads on yet, and folks are worried. I'm Stuart Weber. Frankly, I'm not concerned, but I'm a pretty low-stress kind of guy. If you want to be worried, you certainly have every right to be. I'm just not going to join you. That's because Trevor he had another rough day to kick off this training camp. This morning, the first training camp since he signed that huge contract, became the face of the franchise for many years to come. A couple more interceptions, passes off the mark. Kind of feel like we do this every year, though, because people want the offense to be clicking on all cylinders on day one. But you know what? That's just not how it works. Brent Martineau was on site this morning, and he's here to help settle your nerves.
Cue up Allen Iverson. We're talking about practice. Let's just hope that's the case for the Jaguars offense, because it was not good on Saturday. Sometimes you take a play or a bad play or maybe a headline type play and you run with it during training camp. That wasn't the case on Saturday morning's practice session for the Jaguars. Overall, almost the entire practice, the Jaguars offense really sputtered and struggled, and it's been a little bit of a theme through the first 4 days of training camp, and Trevor Lawrence partly to blame there. He did not look good, threw another interception, not a lot of completions, and even when he made a nice play, the receivers did not catch the football at times. There were some good plays at the end of the practice session, but mostly it was clunky on the offensive side. Now, that could be a good thing for the defense. This defense under Ryan Nielsen looks like it is flying around early in the 2024 training camp. And by the way, they dominated play on Saturday morning without Tyson Campbell and Jarrian Jones taking part in team drills. Those guys nursing minor injuries and sitting out of the team sessions just as a cautionary move from Doug Peterson. But the big story on Saturday, no doubt, about this offense. They have a day off on Sunday. They'll obviously do a lot of work in the film room, but it'll be really interesting to see how the Jags offense comes out Monday and the rest of next week, because they need some winning days out here to maybe get a little bit more confidence, at least in the fan base, and maybe even inside that entire unit. For now, at Jags headquarters covering training camp 2024, I'm Brent Martineau, Action Sports Jax.
Here is your notebook from a Saturday at the Mech. A couple players out, Andrew Wingard, as well as Proctor, the two of them ill, so should be back by Monday, one would think. Tyson Campbell taking it slow in his return. Remember, he kind of tweaked that ankle a little bit yesterday. He got a huge contract as well this offseason. And Mac Jones is enjoying his time in Jax. I'm told he grittied. I'm told there was some gritty action going on at practice. Don't have any video of it, but you know what? Imagine it in your head. Mac Jones at the Mech doing the gritty. Because it happened, is what I'm told. If the Jaguars defense is really good, it might mean Devin Lloyd is having a really good year 3. The former first-round draft pick out of Utah has been inconsistent, but he's playing with confidence in this new Ryan Nielsen scheme. He's back in the middle. He's added some weight, 12 to 15 pounds of muscle. Number 33 could elevate the Jaguars defense with strong play. Here is why he added the extra weight.
And it's just to play dominant, to play strong throughout the season. Obviously, it helps for injury prevention, and really just to play physically stout. You know, that's what the linebacker position is for. And if I can carry it, you know, I'm gonna, put on a little bit extra weight for sure. So I think I'm gonna feel a lot better and stronger towards week 18 and plus. You know, that's really what it's for.
Next time I put on 12 to 15 pounds, I'm going to say it's for injury prevention. That is good. I like it. A lot of anticipation that we will see Lloyd doing some of the things he did at Utah in college. First time this camp, we got to see some extensive work on the new kickoff rule. It's definitely different. Players are working through that, and so too are the coaches. No engagement with the kick and return teams until the receiver catches the ball or it hits the ground. The idea there is you want to reduce injuries and collisions. It's a massive change coming in the sport, and nobody really knows what it's going to look like until we do it.
I think there's a lot of unknown. You know, there's so much stuff of how our team's going to cover it. Our other coaches seeing it the same way my assistant and I see it. I think that's part of it. Is there's so much unknown. We think we have a good idea what we can anticipate, but that's not exact.
We'll find out, won't we? Really, I think we'll find out in the preseason, the first kind of look at it, although I'm not sure how much they'll be kind of hiding in that time of year. 1st and 10 training camp, we've been doing it every weeknight throughout training camp. That's, well, it's 3 other nights other than today, as training camp just started on Wednesday. But we'll be continuing to do it all the way through training camp. So we got extended coverage on the weekends with prime time, and now we got a little extra for you on the weeknights as well. Every weeknight, 11:15 on CBS 47 and Fox 30. That's 1st and 10 training camp.
The Jacksonville Jaguars select Jarrian Jones, defensive back, Florida State.
The Jags drafting the cornerback in round number 3 in April. Now, we've seen Jarrian Jones on the field in a Jaguars uniform. He could play nickel or the outside on Saturday. He wasn't playing much, tweaked his foot and ankle on Friday. Jones, though, a fun guy to be around. Brent Martineau catching up with him after practice.
I'm feeling good, you know, some of those things, you know, just come with camp. You get bruises, marks, scars, you know, so just some stuff come through camp, you know, so I'm working through it. I'm be ready to go.
How's it going so far? You know, the spring is one thing. This is a little bit different animal, isn't it?
I wouldn't say a little bit of a different animal, you know, but you do have a little bit of longer days, you know, so right now I think we're working on 11-hour days, you know, so I think that's the only thing to it is just you being up here for a long amount of time. But I love it, you know, being able to do it with, like, the guys that I get to do it with make it all worth the while. You know, just being able to be with them, in a sense, all day, every day, you know. So being with them, building those relationships, those bonds, those are some of the things we have to lean on during the season. So, you know, it's been fun.
How much do you learn about the guys, right? I mean, obviously you talk a lot of football stuff, but you have your downtime to learn about each other, right?
Yeah, so right now, you know, obviously during camp, we're all staying in the same hotel. And so, I mean, through that process, you've learned a lot about different people. And then, you know, I'm in the DB room with a lot of guys. And then, like, you know, like, throughout the day, you get, like, a lot of breaks in between the day, like, between time. You know, so in the locker room, you may see Josh Allen, he got a onesie on, you know what I'm saying? You may see Dewey just popping sunflower seeds. Like, you just see a lot of different personalities, you know, so I'm the type of guy, like, I'm going to walk up to a guy, kind of start a conversation, try to just see, you know what I'm saying, what makes him click, what makes him go, just try to build those relationships.
You're a big personality guy. Do you feel like you fit in right away, or is there still some like, hey, I'm in the big time?
Yeah, I think I fit in right away. Obviously, you know, I am in the big time, it's the league, but I think I fit in perfect with the guys, and they embraced me to the full capacity. Like, they didn't, you know, sometimes you go into a situation, maybe like the vet guys try to be this way, or however it may be. Like, I feel like I came to some great guys, a great situation, great coaches, great scheme, great everything, great city. I feel like everyone just embraced me.
How much are you learning when we don't see out here, or maybe when we see out here too, but like you said, those long days, the classroom, about what you're trying to accomplish, how this might be different than college?
I feel like Coach Nielsen and my secondary coach, they do a great job in what they do and how they try to portray the system to me. You know, so and they spend a lot of time on the techniques and the details of what it is, because the details are what's going to really push you, like, far, you know, so. They do a really good job with that, and so it's on me to really just have that attitude every day, to be willing to learn and willing to absorb it, you know. So they do a great job with that, and you can really see how much they care about what we're doing.
We try to be the experts on the outside. I have a hard time figuring out where you're going to be, where you're going to play. Do you have an idea of where you're going to be in this defense?
I just play defense. I just play ball. I'm going to line up wherever it calls for me to line up that day or game or however it may be. You know, I just think I'm a football player, and my job is to execute the calls that are called.
How important is that this day and age in the NFL especially, but in football, to be able to play the nickel, play the outside, be versatile?
I feel like it's important, you know, because like in today's offense, guys line up in a lot of different places. You know, like a nickel is the same thing as a corner. A nickel is literally the same thing as a safety. Like, I think you got to be versatile in those things. So I think that's kind of something that I bring to the game, you know. But as far as this defense, like, I could be lined up anywhere.
Lastly, you get your first day off tomorrow. Looking forward to that after all these long days?
Looking so forward to that. It's been a long, you know, and I came earlier than some of the vet guys, so I had like 3 extra practices on top of them. So like how they're feeling, I'm a little bit more beat up than that, but I'm good though, man.
Fun to talk to, the cornerback out of Florida State. Much more Jaguars talk every weekday 10 to 1. Brent and Austin Show, part of our streaming weekday lineup on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. By the way, this will continue to grow as we get into football season. We're going to be adding more and more content, tons of Jags content, tons of local high school football content. We'll have more on that for you next week.
Hey everyone, Olivia Tasley here from Action Sports Jax to tell you all the different ways you can watch our new 24/7 network. 3 easy steps. You don't even need a pen and paper to write it down. Step number 1, download the app. Search Action News Jax in your app store, either on your phone or your smart TV. Then, once you're on the app, click on that little drop-down menu in the upper left-hand corner with the 3 little lines. That'll show you these options, and boom, right here, click Action Sports Jax 24/7, and you will be brought to our continuous stream channel. That app can be accessed through all these different platforms, whether you have Roku, Fire TV, Smart TV, Apple TV, or Google TV. You can find our app. Now, if you don't have access to the app, don't worry, we still got you covered. We're across all social media platforms, from Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, Twitch. We have a podcast channel. Plus, check out our short reels on our TikTok. Action Sports Jax 24/7. It's on all the time and everywhere.
This is the best local sports show in Jacksonville. Action Sports Jax Prime Time. Brought to you by Larry's Giant Subs.
He's a veteran leader, and a lot of guys look to those older guys to, learn how to prepare and stuff, and he does all that professionally. He's a true pro.
Who better to talk about Mitch Morse than the guy standing right next to him in the trenches for the Jags? Ezra Cleveland and Morse are 2 guys the Jags hope can elevate the play of this offensive line. It's no secret that Luke Fortner struggled at the center position a year ago, stymieing the inside run game for the Jags and causing Trevor Lawrence to get all out of fits when it came to scrambling away from pressure. All offseason long, anytime somebody's asked me if the Jags are going to be good this year, I point to the offensive line and protecting Trevor as a key factor. I don't play, so I can't determine if they're going to be good, if anyone's listening who asks me that all the time. On paper, it seems like the Jags have made the necessary improvements. They signed Cleveland to an extension and let him play his natural position at that left guard spot. You get to year 2 for Anton Harrison on the right side, hopefully a full season out of Cam Robinson at the other tackle spot. Then you look to the veteran players. Brandon Sheriff needs to prove he still has the skills that earned him the contract he originally signed with Jacksonville. And then comes Mitch Morse, brought in to solidify the middle, maybe mentor Fortner, who is still on the roster and could be relied upon again in the future. When it comes to talking centers on the Jags, well, there's no better person to talk to than Mr. Jaguar, Brad Meester, who joined Brent and Austin this week on Action Sports Jax 24/7.
They just brought in Mitch Morse. And you're a guy who's played with a bunch of quarterbacks in your career. Is there an adjustment period to learn to play with a new quarterback? Like, will there be an adjustment period between Trevor Lawrence and Mitch Morse now to try to get acclimated a little bit to build that chemistry? Or does that happen, like day 2, day 3 of training camp?
I know they've probably been together already in OTAs, different things like that. It does take a little bit. Obviously the communication part is a big part of it. But that will work itself out. By the time they're through training camp and things like that and into the preseason, I think you'll have a pretty good idea. Every quarterback has a different type of communication. And I think they'll start getting on that same page. It won't take that long. Once you start getting into the battles, of going against the defense and into preseason, it makes itself pretty clear and it works itself out. Obviously the other part of it is, I always felt like, when it changed quarterbacks, I always felt like the snap changed. It seems weird, seems like a minor point, but especially under center. Just hand placements. All centers are a little bit different. Sometimes you get a tight nose, like I said, on, one of the tendencies is the guys to drop their butt when they snap the ball, or different things like that. Quarterback, it just takes a little bit of getting used to. I think always, like when I switch quarterbacks, one of the first things that happen right away in practice is we get snaps that hit the ground. We just have bad snaps. Those happen. That's that other part of it, not just the communication part. It's that feeling a little bit because, like I said, snapping at the beginning of practice was one thing. When you get into the middle of a game or fourth quarter and it is, you're tired as an offensive lineman, he's tired. Things change a little bit. You still got to stay on that same page. So that takes a little bit of time, I think, also.
Mr. Jaguar, Brad Meester, with us here on Action Sports Jacks 24/7 Network. He's on vacation, by the way, and he's joining us. That's because he's got football coming up in just a little bit. We'll get to that in a moment. But I've got one more center. You're a Jags fan, so I know you've been watching a lot, and you stay in touch with the team, and you watch from Iowa, and you go to some of the games, and we see you there. They have not given up on Luke Fortner, but they kind of gave up a little bit on Luke. They knew they needed an enhancement. They needed to get a little bit better at the center spot. My view of it, which I know nothing about that center position, you just educated us a lot, is that Mitch Morse is he's kind of a man. You know, he's a grown man. Like, at some point at that position, you're still a kid or a young man, and then there's the grown man that you're going against. I mean, can it sometimes be as simple as that? Morse is a guy who's been around. He's 30-something years old, different than a guy who's going into his third year in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, there is a difference. I mean, I got a chance to meet Mitch. We actually went out to dinner this spring, right when he signed. But we just happened to be in town, so we ended up going out to eat. Actually, the family and I, first time since it's been up, probably the first time since I left, I came back and actually got to see the facility. So I saw the facilities the other day last week. It was the first time I saw the practice facilities. He was in there, so I got to see him again. He's just a big dude. I mean, he is huge. I mean, you talk about a man. He is a big man. That's the way it's going now. These offensive linemen, any players, they are huge nowadays. But I think there's something to be said about a guy that size, especially the way the league's going with defensive linemen. They're getting bigger. They're getting faster. To have a guy like that, big guy that can move, and just what I know of him, he's a tough son of a gun too. I mean, I think that's what the offensive line's got to have. I think it's got to be one of those where we become an offensive line that nobody wants to mess with. Like, we're not afraid to get after it a little bit. It's okay to have a few fights every once in a while, even in practice. We want to be that type of group that will do whatever it takes to protect Trevor. And I think Mitch is that type of guy to lead that. I mean, he is. You could tell just in the few conversations I've had with him. He's a tough, no nonsense guy, and I look forward to seeing him play and leading this group up front.
So cool to hear from Brad Meester, and you heard it on the Brent and Austin show every weekday, 10 to 1.
Tyson Campbell just signed a massive extension, right? What's it like to see a defensive guy, and even Josh Hines-Allen, right, getting that massive extension? How do you feel about that?
I'm jealous. I tell my mom every time I go home, you had me too early, mama.
Well, suit back up then, Bees. Sure, Tyson Campbell wouldn't mind sharing a cornerback room with Aaron Beasley, of course, a Jaguars legend on and off the field. Recently created the 99 Jags group to bring opportunities to former Jag players with a focus on bringing value to Jags. Wednesday held the first ever entrepreneur boot camp, teaching the basics of owning and running a franchise to former players to potentially kick off an investment and open new restaurants here in Jacksonville.
It's a process for everything, just like, any sport. You got to wake up, work out, eat right. The same thing happens in business. And, I've actually learned the hard way a couple times. And, to be able to help guys not make the same mistakes I made would be a blessing.
The legends in attendance at practice. Good to see Jags former players always at the facilities.
When you think sports, you think Action Sports Jacks, the official station of the Jaguars, on location for every game. But the most experienced team in town doesn't stop there. From high school football to the big events in the area, Action Sports Jacks is always on. Now, we take that to a new level. Action Sports Jacks 24/7 is around-the-clock coverage of the teams you love and the moments you can't miss. The best local sports in Jacksonville on Action Sports Jacks 24/7.